I was working the ticket counter at Prague main station when an American couple walked up looking completely stressed. The woman held her phone out to me and said, "We bought first-class tickets, but the train doesn't have a first-class section." I looked at their tickets. They were second class. I pointed this out gently. She shook her head. "No, we specifically paid extra for first class on the website." Her husband nodded hard. "Yeah, we paid like $40 more." I pulled up their booking confirmation. It showed second class clearly. Turns out they had paid $40 more than the budget bus option, not for a train upgrade. They genuinely thought paying more than the cheapest option automatically meant first class. This is the kind of cultural mismatch I unpack often. Real stories that reveal how assumptions collapse under unfamiliar systems. If that lens is useful to you, you'll want to stick around. They stood there confused, while I explained that first-class tickets cost about triple what they paid. The husband just kept saying, "But we paid extra." Another time, I was bartending in Amsterdam when an American guy ordered a beer and left a €20 bill on the counter. I gave him his change, about €16 back. He pushed €2 toward me and pocketed the rest. "Normal tip here." Then he leaned in and whispered, "Hey man, is it safe to drink the tap water here?" I told him yes, it's some of the best tap water in Europe. He looked relieved. "Oh good, because the hotel sink water tastes weird and I've been buying bottled water all week." Then he paused. "Wait, so I've been wasting money?" I nodded. He'd spent probably €50 on bottled water in 4 days because he assumed European tap water was unsafe, like some developing countries. The part that got me was he never asked anyone. Just assumed and spent. My cousin works at a car rental place in Dublin. An American family picked up their rental car, and 20 minutes later they called from the parking lot. The father said, "The car won't start. We think it's broken?" My cousin walked out to check. He found them sitting in the car, key in the ignition, pressing the brake pedal. He asked if they were pressing the clutch. Silence on their end. The car was manual transmission. None of them knew how to drive stick. The father said, "Why would you give us a stick shift? Nobody drives these anymore." My cousin explained that manual is standard here and automatic costs extra, which was listed clearly during booking. They'd skipped right past that detail. The family had to wait 3 hours for an automatic to become available. The whole time, the dad kept saying someone should have warned them better. These moments kept piling up during my years working tourism in Europe. Not isolated incidents, patterns. Americans arriving abroad expecting things to work exactly like home, then feeling genuinely shocked and sometimes lost when basic systems operate differently. Not all Americans, obviously, but enough that those of us working hotels, trains, restaurants, and tours started collecting these stories. And they're fascinating because they reveal something deeper than simple mistakes. They show moments where confidence meets unfamiliar territory and creates these perfect storms of confusion. I track patterns like this constantly, not to mock, but to map the cultural blind spots that surface when systems clash. If you're serious about understanding the deeper why behind moments like these, consider subscribing. I spent 2 summers working as a tour guide in Rome. One afternoon, an American couple approached me near the Colosseum holding a paper map. The wife asked, "How do we walk to Venice from here?" I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I asked what she meant. She pointed at her map. Rome and Venice looked close together, maybe 2 inches apart on paper. I explained they were about 400 kilometers apart. She looked stunned. "But on the map it's right there." The husband checked his phone and went pale. "Honey, that's a 5-hour drive." She couldn't process it. They'd planned a walking tour from Rome to Venice in an afternoon. No trains booked, no backup plan. They'd just assumed Italy was small enough to walk between major cities. I helped them book a train ticket, but they seemed almost offended that geography didn't match their mental picture. A friend who works at London Heathrow told me about an American businessman who missed his Connection because he refused to believe his gate was real. His boarding pass said Gate A23. He kept asking staff where the real gates were because A23 sounds made up. He was convinced it was a typo. Multiple staff members walked him toward the gate. He still resisted, saying, "American airports don't use letters and numbers together like that, so it must be wrong." He only believed it when he physically saw the gate number on the wall. By then, boarding was closed. He filed a complaint saying the airport's gate numbering system was intentionally confusing to foreigners. The gate system had been the same for decades. My sister worked at a train station in Brussels. An American woman came to the counter upset because her ticket said Bruxelles, but she needed to go to Brussels. She thought they were different cities. My sister explained that Bruxelles is just Brussels in French. The woman didn't accept this. Then why doesn't it say Brussels? My sister tried explaining that Belgium has multiple official languages. The woman cut her off. "I bought a ticket to Brussels. I need Brussels, not some French place." She demanded a refund and a correct ticket. My sister pointed to the English version on the departure board showing Brussels. The woman squinted at it and back at her ticket, then said, "Well, someone should have mentioned that earlier." She'd been in Brussels for 2 days and somehow never noticed the dual language signs everywhere. Was working at a bike rental shop in Copenhagen when an American college student returned his bike after an hour. He said the brakes were broken. I checked the bike. Everything worked fine. I asked what happened. He explained that he squeezed the brakes, but the bike kept rolling. I had him demonstrate. He squeezed the brake levers while sitting still. The bike obviously didn't move because it wasn't moving to begin with. Then I realized. I asked, "Did you try braking while actually riding?" He looked confused. "No, I tested them first to make sure they worked." He'd assumed that if the brakes didn't physically lock the wheels while stationary, they were broken. He never actually rode the bike, just tested the brakes in the shop, decided they failed, and returned it. He seemed genuinely surprised when I explained how bike brakes work. He was 20 years old. A hotel manager in Munich told me about an American guest who complained that the elevator was broken because it wouldn't move. The manager went to check. The guest was standing inside pressing the button for floor 3, where he already was. The manager asked where he wanted to go. The guest said, "I'm trying to go to my room on floor 3. The manager pointed out he was already on floor 3. The guest said, "I know, that's why I'm pressing 3. He thought elevators were like teleportation devices that moved you around the same floor. He'd been pressing the button for 5 minutes waiting for something to happen. When the manager explained he needed to exit the elevator and walk to his room, the guest asked, "Then what's the point of the elevator?" He couldn't grasp why an elevator existed if it didn't take you directly to your room door. I watched an American family at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport try to board a train to the city. They had their luggage on one of those big carts. The train doors opened. They tried to roll the cart directly into the train car. It didn't fit. The father pushed harder. Still didn't fit. Other passengers squeezed around them. The mother said, "This train isn't accessible." A local finally explained they needed to carry their bags on, that the cart stayed on the platform. The father looked at the cart, at the train, back at the cart. "What are we supposed to do with this then?" The local said, "Leave it." The father seemed genuinely distressed about abandoning a free airport cart. His teenage son had to physically pull him onto the train. Through the window, I saw the father still staring at the cart as the train pulled away, like he was leaving behind something valuable. It was a free cart that belonged to the airport. I worked as a waiter in Barcelona for 3 years. The most common confusion was dinner timing. American tourists would walk in at 6 p.m. asking for dinner. We didn't serve dinner until 9. They'd look shocked every time. One couple insisted we were lying to avoid serving them. "Restaurants have to serve food during business hours," the husband said. I explained we were open, just not serving dinner yet. He couldn't understand the distinction. "You're a restaurant. You have food. We want food." What's the problem? I offered them the late afternoon snack menu. He scoffed. We're not eating snacks for dinner. Then they left, annoyed, convinced we were discriminating somehow. They came back at 8:30, still 30 minutes before dinner service, and seemed validated when we still said no. They never returned. Later, I saw their negative review online calling us the rudest restaurant that refuses to serve Americans. A friend managed an Airbnb in Berlin. An American guest messaged her at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday saying, "Your neighbors keep shushing us. Is this area safe?" My friend asked what happened. The guest explained that her group of 6 was having drinks on the apartment balcony, talking and laughing, when the neighbor knocked and asked them to keep it down. Then another neighbor leaned out their window and made a shushing gesture. The guest felt targeted and unsafe. My friend explained Germany's quiet hours, typically after 10 p.m. on weekdays. The guest responded, "That's insane. What if we want to have fun?" My friend suggested moving inside or going to a bar. The guest said bars close too early. My friend explained that's also because of noise regulations and cultural norms. The guest's final message was, "I don't think I can recommend Berlin to my friends. Too many rules." I was working front desk at a hostel in Prague when an American guy came down at 7 a.m. furious. "Someone stole my shoes," he announced loudly. I asked where he left them. "Right by my bed, where I took them off." I explained that in his dorm room, things sometimes get moved or accidentally taken. He shook his head. "No, someone stole them from outside my room." That's when I understood. I asked if he'd left them in the hallway. He said yes. "That's what you're supposed to do, right? I've seen shoes outside doors in Asia." I explained that's a specific cultural practice in certain Asian countries, not a universal rule, and definitely not in Czech hostels. He looked confused. "Then why do Asians do it?" I tried explaining different cultural practices around shoes and cleanliness. He cut me off. "Whatever, I just need my shoes back." We checked the lost and found. Someone had turned them in, assuming they were abandoned. He took them and muttered, "People need to respect other cultures," somehow missing the irony completely. My brother worked at a grocery store in Amsterdam. An American woman approached him holding a block of cheese, almost in tears. "Why is everything so expensive here?" The cheese cost €4, about $5. He gently said, "That's normal price for good cheese." She shook her head. "In America, I can get a whole bag of shredded cheese for $3. He explained that this was aged Gouda, not pre-shredded cheddar. She didn't care. Cheese is cheese. Then she showed him her basket. Everything was premium or organic products. He suggested some budget alternatives. She looked offended. "I don't want cheap food. I just want normal prices." He tried explaining that what she considered cheap in America was often lower quality or mass-produced differently. She put everything back and left, muttering about European price gouging. She'd been comparing premium European products to American budget brands and couldn't understand why the math didn't work. I knew a gym receptionist in London who dealt with an American member who kept violating rules. First, he wore outdoor shoes on the gym floor. When corrected, he said, "They're sneakers. That's what you wear in gyms." Staff explained these were specific indoor athletic shoes only. He complied but seemed annoyed. Then he was told to bring a towel. He said, "Why? I'm not showering here." They explained it's to put on equipment. He thought that was overthinking hygiene. Then he got warned about grunting loudly during lifts. He said, "That's how you know someone's working hard." Each rule confused him. Finally, he didn't show up for a booked class. His third no-show. The gym charged him a small fee. He lost it. "You're charging me for not coming?" "That's backward." He canceled his membership, leaving a review about how European gyms nickel and dime you with made-up rules. Every rule he'd broken was clearly posted and explained during sign-up. A cafe owner in Vienna told me, About an American customer who ordered a coffee and sat down with his laptop. 4 hours later, still one coffee, still at the table. The owner approached politely and explained that tables were for customers actively ordering. The American said, "I am a customer. I bought coffee." The owner clarified that in Vienna, cafes expect turnover or additional orders during long stays. The American looked baffled. "I'm not going to drink 6 coffees. That's unhealthy." The owner suggested maybe ordering food or coming back later. The American packed up, offended, saying, "In America, customers are valued." He didn't grasp that the cafe model wasn't a free workspace. Several American customers did this, treating Viennese cafes like Starbucks unlimited seating. The owner eventually added a sign in English explaining table time expectations. American customers often took photos of the sign and posted it online as evidence of anti-American bias. Never. Considering it was a normal local practice they'd forced into. Being spelled out, I worked at a pharmacy in London when an American tourist came in looking panicked. "I need medicine fast. I'm running 101-degree fever." I asked if he meant Celsius or Fahrenheit. He stared at me. "Degrees. Fever degrees." I clarified we use Celsius here. He checked his phone. "It says 101. I did the conversion. About 38 Celsius, a mild fever. I recommended rest and fluids." He looked unconvinced. "That sounds serious, though. 101. I explained that in Celsius, that's not dramatic. He struggled with this. Why would you use a system where 100 isn't even hot? I tried explaining metric logic. He cut me off. "Whatever, just give me something strong." I sold him paracetamol, basic fever reducer. He read the box. 500 milligrams? Is that a lot? I confirmed it's a standard dose. He squinted. In America, we just say extra strength. He wanted clear language, not numbers. The metric system felt needlessly complicated to him. He left still convinced his fever was worse than I'd acknowledged. A friend worked at a gas station in rural France. An American driver pulled up, filled his tank, then came inside angry. "Your prices are insane. 40 euros for half a tank?" My friend checked. The driver had filled completely. He'd misread the pump. He insisted he only got half. My friend asked how he knew. "The gauge shows half." They walked to the car. The tank was full, gauge showed full. The driver pointed at the pump display showing liters. "See? It only gave me 40. My friend explained that's 40 liters, which is about 10 gallons, a full tank for that car. The driver couldn't process it. 40 of anything shouldn't fill a whole tank. He'd been mentally converting liters to gallons incorrectly, assuming 40 liters meant 40 gallons somehow. My friend showed him the math. The driver just shook his head. "I don't know why Europe makes everything so complicated." He paid and left, still certain he'd been confused on purpose. I was teaching English in Poland when an American exchange student asked me, "Why do Europeans write dates backward?" I asked what she meant. She showed me a form dated 15/08/2023. That's August 15th, but they wrote it backward. I explained that's day, month, year, standard in most of the world. She looked skeptical. But month, day, year makes more sense. I asked why. She paused. "Because that's how we say it. August 15th. I pointed out many languages say 15th of August. She dismissed this. Still, smallest to biggest makes no sense. I explained it goes small to medium to large, which is logical. She disagreed. Medium to small to large is better because you know the month first. I gave up trying to explain. She spent her whole semester writing dates American style on forms and getting them rejected. Each time, she'd complain about European stubbornness. A hotel receptionist in Switzerland told me about an American guest who called down at 2 a.m. furious. "Your clock is broken. It says 1400 hours. The receptionist went up. The bedside clock showed all-too-relatable. Military time, common in Europe. The guest pointed at it. "See, 14. That's not a real time." The receptionist explained 24-hour format. The guest said, "Why would anyone do that? 12 hours is plenty." The receptionist tried explaining it prevents AM-PM confusion. The guest scoffed. "Just wake up, and you know if it's AM or PM." The receptionist gave up and just switched the clock to 12-hour format. The guest thanked her for fixing it. The next night, same guest called again. "Now it says 2, but my phone says 14. Which is right?" The receptionist had to explain she'd changed the clock at his request. He'd already forgotten. I worked at a currency exchange in Edinburgh. An American tourist wanted to exchange $500. I gave him the rate and amount in pounds. He looked at the money, then back at me. "This doesn't look like 500. I confirmed it was about 380 pounds. He shook his head. "I gave you 500. I should get 500 back." I explained exchange rates. He didn't budge. $1 is $1 anywhere. I showed him the rate chart on the wall. He glanced at it. "That chart's got to be wrong." I pulled up live rates on my computer. He barely looked. "I think you're trying to rip me off." I offered to cancel the transaction. He stood there thinking, then finally took the pounds, muttering, "This is why I don't trust traveling." He genuinely believed exchange rates were a scam invented to steal from tourists. A gym in Copenhagen had an American member who kept setting treadmill speeds wrong. He'd input his desired speed, start running, then jump off panicked. "This thing's broken! It says I'm running 30 miles per hour." Staff would check. He'd set it to 30 kilometers per hour, about 18 miles per hour. Fast but not insane. They'd explain. He'd say, "Why doesn't it just show miles?" They'd explain it's a European gym with metric equipment. He'd nod, then do it again next time. Every single workout for 2 weeks. He couldn't retain that kmh wasn't mph. Finally, staff taped a conversion chart to his usual treadmill. He ripped it off. "I don't need training wheels." Next day, same panic. He eventually just started using the bike instead, where the numbers felt less scary. He never admitted he couldn't handle the conversion, just quietly switched equipment. I was working my last shift at a Budapest train station before moving back home when an American family approached, looking stressed. The father held up 4 tickets and said, "We need to return these and get earlier tickets." I checked their tickets. They were valid for travel in 2 hours. I asked why they needed earlier ones. The mother jumped in. "We don't want to wait around for 2 hours. We want to leave now." I explained that trains run on schedules. They can't just board any train. The father looked irritated. "We paid for tickets. We should be able to use them whenever." I told them I could try to exchange the tickets for a fee. The teenage daughter sighed. "Dad, just wait. It's 2 hours." The father ignored her. "What kind of system makes you wait when trains are leaving right now?" I explained that those trains were different routes or already fully booked. He couldn't grasp fixed schedules. Finally, his wife put her hand on his arm and said, "Honey, let's just get coffee and wait." He agreed reluctantly, but not before muttering, "Amtrak would let you switch." That moment stuck with me because it captured something I'd seen hundreds of times. Not stupidity or ignorance exactly, more like a collision between expectation and reality. Americans often arrive in Europe expecting systems to bend like they do back home, where customer service means maximum flexibility, where exceptions are normal, where being assertive gets results. Then they hit walls made of centuries-old structures, cultural norms, and simple logic that doesn't budge. And instead of adapting, they feel betrayed. Like the world agreed to work one way, and is now cheating by having different rules. The interesting part isn't that Americans struggle abroad. Everyone does in unfamiliar places. It's that Americans sometimes struggle to recognize they're the ones who need to adjust. That confidence that carried them so far at home becomes an anchor abroad. They're not lost because European systems are complicated. They're lost because they keep using the wrong map and getting frustrated when it doesn't match the territory. I remember one last encounter at that Budapest station. A young American woman came up looking relieved. Finally, someone who might speak English. I told her I did. She laughed. Thank God. I've been trying to figure out these ticket machines for 20 minutes. I walked her through it. She got her ticket, then paused. Can I ask you something? Why is everything here so different? I smiled. It's not different here. It's just not the same as there. That's the kind of nuance I focus on here. Not just travel content, but context. If clarity across cultures matters to you, you're in the right place. She thought about that, nodded slowly, and said, That's fair. Then she left. And honestly, that's the entire point. These stories never stop coming, because the world is huge and varied and gloriously weird. Americans abroad, like anyone abroad, will keep having these moments. Some will learn. Some will leave angry reviews. Either way, those of us watching from behind counters and ticket booths will keep collecting the stories.